Okay, guys, so you should be able to see my screen now. Apologies for that. Okay, so just to start over, here is the workspace we have with all of the apps that we've added. It's just a regular workspace that we've added to our test organization, and we've added a few tiles here to customize it. So here's an image tile that we've added just with a funny picture, and then we've added this instructions tile here as well. Just so that you can see the different ways that, that each app is for. So you can see this goes through each of the different apps in the workspace, tells your employees how to use it. So you might do this as part of your company onboarding and just show them, you know, the intranet workspace and what each app is for, and then just keep this tile here as a reminder, just so they can see what everything is supposed to be used for. Just a couple of other random, you can see the tasks, the files, different events, and these are all added via this add tile button here on the side. So you can add all these different types of tiles here to help personalize the dashboard for this workspace. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through each of the different apps and show you what they do and the thinking behind adding them. Okay, so first we have the FAQ. You know, it's pretty straightforward. It's mostly for if people in your organization have questions, they can just ask them here. You might also just use the workspace activity stream for that. So you could post a question here like, do we have a holiday tomorrow? And then you ask that. And then everyone who's a member in this workspace will get a notification for this question, and then they can comment on it with the answer. Or you can use an app for that. So with an app, it gets a little more, you can add a little bit more complexity to it. So you can see if I add an FAQ here, I can give it a type, I can give it an author, and then you can add the answers straight to the app instead of having to do it via a comment. It also lets you give it like a priority if you have an urgent question that needs to be answered right away, or if it's just a casual question, you know, something you're just generally curious about. And as many of you may know, these apps can be fully modified, so maybe I don't like the category cool, so I can click Modify Template up here. And I can just rename that to something else. So maybe I want to call it Casual instead. So then I click Done, and now that shows up here in my app. So one important thing to note is that if you use an app for this, it will only notify people who are following the app. So it might be something that you want to teach to your new employees, that they should follow this app if they want to be notified each time there's a new question. So to follow an app, you're going to click this follow button right in the upper left corner. So you click follow this app, and when it's green, it means you're following it. So that means every time someone in my team adds a question here, I'm going to get a notification, and then if I know the answer, I can answer it via that answer field. So that's that one. And then moving on to the Employees app, I think this is an important app that every intranet tool or every intranet workspace should have. This basically just lists all of your employees, and you can define their roles, their managers, their start date, just any other information that you would want to keep about an employee. I think it's especially helpful once your company gets a bit larger, because then maybe you don't know what Gustav's role is, so you can look it up here and say, okay, he's in sales, his manager is Cooper, and it's a good way to keep your company directory organized. Another good thing that we've added to this is this little call via Skype link. What this is actually a calculation field. So let me show you how that works. So this was using a little bit of JavaScript, and this just lets us place a Skype phone call using this little script here. So if you want, you can grab a quick screenshot to copy that, and you can use that. And what it does is it takes this phone field, which is entered here, and it will place a Skype call with that phone number. So you can see here, if I click on Helene, she has this number here. I can click this call via Skype, and then you can see down there in the lower left, it's going to call that number with Skype. So that's just a neat little trick that we've done if you want to call one of your coworkers. That's just a handy little trick there. And then again, this app can be modified to add any additional information you would want to add. Maybe you want to add like their birthday, or a description if they want to introduce themselves a little bit. Anything like that you can add to this app. Next, we have the Far and Away app. This is used to plan your holidays. So if you want to take PTO for any reason, if you're sick, if you just want to plan a vacation, you can add an item to this app. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys as well is the advanced workflow tool. For those of you who are on our Plus and Premium tools, what we've done is we've set up a workflow so that anytime someone requests sick leave, we automatically create a task to let that person's manager know that they need to approve that time off. So to show you how that's set up, I will go to Manage Workflows, and my existing workflows are here at the bottom. So I'll click this sick leave one to show you how it's set up. So it says every time a holiday is created and every time the value of the field is set to sick leave, then we're going to create a task. So this is created just by dragging this down into this box. So what we've done is we've filled in the task. We've used created by as the title of the task. So this is a variable, and you use it via the @ symbol, and you can see that all the different variables I can select from are here. So I can do @created by is sick. That's going to be the name of the task. So it'll say something like it'll say Brit is sick, and then it will get assigned to the manager to approve. And that's just another field in the app that the employee fills out. And that way the task doesn't get assigned to the same person each time. It's variable depending on who needs to approve it. Details, just say, whatever you'd like that to say. So now, just to give you an example, I'll go ahead and add an item to that app. And let's say it's myself. I'm going to set it to sick leave, so this is what triggers the workflow. And we'll say it's today. I'll just take one day because I think I'm going to be better tomorrow. And my manager is Cooper. So this was that field that's going to be set to the assignee for the task. So I'm saying this is who needs to approve it. So now I will click Save. And now you can see the task was automatically created that says Britt Moore is sick, gets assigned to Cooper Holton. So that's just one way you can use the workflow tool. That was the advanced workflow that's part of the Plus and Premium tiers. The basic workflow tool allows you to create the task, but it doesn't allow you to specify the trigger. So essentially it would say this task gets assigned every time an item is created instead of every time a sick leave is created. Another tip for an app like this, I would usually recommend setting it to calendar layout. That way you can see, it's just a lot easier to see who has the time off for the day. And that's something you can set via the app settings as well. So right now, every time I return to this app, it's going to show in the last layout that I used. But let's say I want everyone to see it in the calendar layout just because I feel that makes the most sense. I'm going to click this wrench here and go to the app settings. And here you can see the standard layout. Right now it's set to table, but I don't think that makes as much sense as the calendar layout. So I can switch that to calendar and click Save. So now every time someone comes to my app, they're going to see it in this calendar layout, and it's going to be a lot better than just a table. It's a lot easier to read, in my opinion. Okay, so next we have this High Fives app. This one is just more of an idea for fun. If you have, employees who deserve recognition, if they, did something really cool, this is just something you can do. It helps improve morale, stuff like that. So, if someone deserves a high five, just add an item to this app, and you can say, someone closed a big deal, let's say. So let's say it was my colleague Christian, and I just want everyone to realize what a great job that Christian has done. So I'm just giving him a high five. He did a really cool thing. So I'm just going to save that. And Christian will get a notification to let him know that I've tagged him here. So it's just a cool way to let your employees know that you appreciate the work they've done. And it's just something that you can do for fun. Another thing I wanted to show you guys in the app settings, there's so much you can change here. So let's say, this cup of coffee doesn't really, I don't think it's as related to the app as it could be. You can use this search at the top to switch the icon. Let's say I want it to be more like an actual high five. So here I have this hand here. Now it makes a little more sense. So it's just another small thing that you can customize to really make this workspace, built by you. So next here we have events. So pretty straightforward. This is just where you would add your company events. I'll show you what that looks like here. So let's say I want to plan a spring party. You add the date here. And then here's a category field. Again, just a basic category field. You can add as many categories as you want. I'm going to say this is a social event. I'm going to put this together. So I'll add myself as the organizer. And all these other details you can put in. This location is a map field. So let's say I want to just add a random map. So this integrates with Google Maps. So when you type in an address, it will show the Google Maps location. So that's just if you're having an offsite event, pretty handy so you can help your colleagues and other people see exactly where they're going. Clients to invite, this is actually a relationship field that points to a different app, which is actually in the CRM workspace. So a relationship field lets you link items from other apps. So as you can see here, these are all of our clients, and we can click any of these to link them to the workspace. And here you can see the information on that client. And if you want to see more information, you can just click on it, and now I'm in my CRM workspace, and here's all the information about that client. And just to show you how that's set up, in case you haven't used a relationship field in the past for any of your apps, this is just created by simple drag and drop from the app template. And then when you drag and drop, you'll be asked to choose an app. And then you just enter the app that you would like to link. So here there's 2 different apps here, but you can select from any of the apps in any of the workspaces in your organization. So it doesn't matter if they're in a different workspace. As long as they're in the same Podio organization, they can be linked together. Okay, and moving on to expenses. Again, pretty straightforward. Just allows people to record their expenses if they went on a business trip or if they had to purchase office supplies, they can put this here. Some people might prefer to keep this, confidential. Maybe I don't want everyone in my company to see all the expenses. I think that's maybe, not the best info to just have out there. So you might want to create a separate private workspace for this. And that way only you and other managers can have access to it to approve it, and the rest of the employees don't get access to it. So the way that would work, so let's say this is in a different workspace and I need someone to be able to add an expense. What I'm going to do is click this, the wrench icon in the upper left, and click the web form link right here. And the web form is essentially a public-facing version of your app. So you'll find the public web form link here on the right side. So I'm going to click this. And here now, anybody out there, they don't have to be a member in Podio, it's just anybody with a computer and an internet connection can fill out this form to add an item to your expense app. So let's say I'm going to add an expense here. Let's say I went out to lunch today, don't have a receipt. I'm going to set it to pending. And I spent $50 on lunch. So I'm going to send that in. And then I'm going to go to my expenses app. And now you can see that item that I just added. So here's someone who, wasn't a member in Podio. They filled out that web form, and now it's in my app. So, and now it's set to pending. And that's actually another good use case for the workflow tool. If something is set to pending, maybe we can make a workflow that sets the person, assigns a task for someone to approve that lunch. So let me just show you how that can be set up again to walk you through it. So we'll go to Manage Workflows, and I'm going to create a brand new workflow. So I want this to trigger every time an expense is created. And then I want to say every time that status is set to pending. So I don't want to task if it's approved or rejected. I just want to task when the category is set to pending. So I'm going to add that condition, and now you can see that's up here. And then I'm going to create a task. And let's say I don't always want to assign it to the same person every time. I want it to be assigned to that person's manager. So then I can select this as a variable, and this is manager to approve. And that's just a contact field within the expense app. And that's something that each employee would designate when they're adding the expense. They would say, okay, this is my manager, and this is the person who needs to approve it. So we'll say this is the task, and just add a name to your workflow before saving. Okay, so now let's say I have another expense. I'm a team member, so I'm just going to add an item to this app. Now I did team dinner, let's say. And that was tonight. And I'm going to set the manager to Cooper. And it defaults to pending because I've made this a required field. So that's another handy little trick, is that in the app template, you can set as field to required. And when a category field is required, the first category is going to be selected by default. So as you can see here, it's always set to pending. So, as an employee, I don't need to change anything. I need to set that back to Cooper. And I'm going to save that. So now you can see that workflow was triggered because the status was pending. And now my boss now has this task to approve my expense. So workflows are just a really good way to keep people actively notified of things that they need to address. So moving on to the birthdays app. This is pretty straightforward, and this is something that you might even want to just include in your employees app in the form of a date field. But for birthdays, it's very simple. Add a birthday for each employee, add their name, and add their date. You might even, if you want to keep a separate app, instead of just having a text field as the name, maybe you want to add a relationship field and tie it to your employees app. So here I have that here, and I'll save that, and I'll just get rid of the name since I don't need it anymore. And then I click done. So now I can select from all of my employees, and then I can add their birthday. So then when I click save, this is now linked to Helene's item in my employees app. So if I'm looking at Helene, I can see here in this related items section, here's her birthday, and then you can click that to see it. So it's really up to how you want to structure it, if you would want to add it to this app versus having a separate app. It's just another example of your freedom to structure things the way you feel is best. So then we have this Office Improvements app. This is just another idea for your team to suggest feedback for how they can improve the office. So, as you can see, we have an example here, new couch in the lounge area. So Britt thinks that there needs to be a new couch. The old couch is too small for 3 people. So it's just another, thing you can add for like a team collaboration. So if you have an idea on something that will make your office better, you can add it here. So just another fun idea. And then lastly is the feedback app, kind of similar to Office Improvement, but more generic. Just if you have feedback on how maybe your work environment could be better, how your processes could be better, anything like that, you could add it to this app. So that's just another idea on ways you can collaborate with your team to help everyone's lives get better. Okay, and so that's it for the intranet apps. If anyone has any questions, the GoToWebinar control panel has it's a little hand icon, and you can use that to raise your hand. If you have any questions, go ahead and do that, and I will be happy to answer. Okay, so not seeing any hands raised, so maybe I've been thorough enough. If you guys have any questions after the session, feel free to write to us at support@podio.com. That's our main support channel. You can also write to me. It's Jacqueline@podio.com. I'll write it here just so you guys can see it, so you can spell it. Jacqueline@podio.com. Feel free to send me an email anytime you guys have questions, whether it's about intranet or just Podio in general. Happy to help you out with that, so don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, and that wraps up our session, so thank you everyone for attending. I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys were able to get some ideas on how you can make your team better. Okay, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.